Syracuse and Johns Hopkins. 62nd meeting all time. Hopkins with a slight edge in the overall series. One that dates back to 1921. Mason Kohn wins the opening face-off, and Syracuse goes to work on offense with Spallina.
Army a couple weeks back.
And he gives this offense really a second quarterback to take some pressure off of Joey Spallina.
He's a chameleon. He's one of the top assist players in the country last year when Kevin Cuse was the head coach at Lehigh. He operated behind the cage a ton. Now he's that secondary thought.
Owen Hiltz with the left hand, big save by Erlin. Worried about chemistry and mixing and matching because the system has worked. Their only loss was a game against Denver, where Hopkins had a 3-goal lead with 3.5 to go. Denver tied the game at the end of regulation with, remember, Petro, Quint on the other side. Some great battles in the late 80s.
I was a fan in the stands. Bird Stadium in 1989 as an 8th grader, watching Gary and Paul Gade against Quint and Dave Petramala.
One of the best games of all time.
One of the best games. He's probably anticipating, since I saved him low, he's probably going to go high.
Another face-off one. Here's Mullen. Syracuse going quickly, and that one skirts wide from the wing by the Orange.
Johnny Mullen, the freshman face-off man from Massachusetts. He's only a freshman. Mark my words, in the next year or two, he will be at the top elite level nationally. He's got the build, he's got the athleticism, he has the stick skills with the new rules to make plays after a win. He checks every box, 36 and white. Non-shot. And it's not typical in terms of he does this every single time. He will spray it in a variety of ways. And if you're Syracuse, you cannot slide off of him. He's not the Dodge deal on Saturdays in Baltimore around Homewood Field. It's a monster deal up in the Dome. It's their spring sport.
They get media coverage and attention locally the way Division I basketball teams do at certain schools. How about the nice stick work by Stevens? Gets to the middle, draws the attention. Trail check, Brett Martin, Hopkins top shorty. Hiltz comes back with it.
Hopkins has had 3 or 4 great trail checks. Like, once you think a Syracuse offensive player has penetrated free way easier.
Mullen against Logan Callahan. First face-off win for the Blue Jays. It's Callahan from Victor, New York. There's a pretty good face-off man who came out of Victor, New York, huh?
T.D. Erlin, Chase's older brother. Elevating there. He's marinating on the left side, saying, I can't believe all this help is inside right now to let me spray.
Wings will get involved in this one. Alexo is going to get hit with a flag.
This is going to be interesting. If there's intent, it could go over 1 minute, Anish.
Now they're going to look at two things: indirect, direct, or excessive and or flagrant. Mason Kohn, the Division III transfer from Tufts, facing off against Logan Callahan. Callahan moved early, and here comes Kohn. Played hockey and lacrosse at Tufts. This is the first time.
Dodger, he has that off-ball element. Get him involved as a guy who could finish inside.
First goal in almost 20 minutes for Syracuse.
Now, you got to have a variety of ways to get a guy like Spallina involved, because not all the time is he going to own a one-on-one matchup against a guy like Scott Smith, but he's so concerned about the support.
Christian Mullet. A lot of Mullets out there too, right?
Did we call him Cam, his brother?
Cam. Cam played at Duke.
I've mixed those guys up, and I've known them for so long, and not only phenomenal lacrosse players, incredible teammates. Next to Gary Gate. But how do you beat an aggressive defense, Anish? It's with passing and kind of lulling a defense to think that you're going to the cage as a Dodger, but it's a passer intent.
Johns Hopkins finally gets the ball. Syracuse had won 10 out of 12 face-offs prior to that last one. Mullen, the freshman, had taken it. Now the Blue Jays will get into their settled set.
He shoots through you, and on a righty goalie, that thing just stung the opposite pipe.
How about Kohn Turbines out of the ambush. Another face-off won by the Orange. Now Spallina waits for Smith, gets it to Stevens. Trying to maneuver on Deans. Good recovery. Rowe's going to run out of the box.
So Christian Mullet's behind the cage. They've been short sticking him.
And they're leaving Kohn out there, which means we'll be watching him in the PLL this summer.
Yes, he's going to be playing professional lacrosse for a long time. And you get a chameleon of a midfielder. Play him on wings. They didn't have him in the West Point Army game, right? If they have Jake Stevens in an overtime game where he's so significant in terms of the way he impacts the game on the wings, on face-offs, and in transition, scoring goals.
Game clearing at 93%. Today, below 65%. Uncharacteristic. Kohn wins the face-off. Tries to play it to the wing. Spallina able to retrieve. Hopkins using that sideline as an extra defender. Stevens dusting his man. He's Da Vinci and cleats. Stevens all the way to the rack. Trail check by Deans. Loose ball near the crease. Smith has it and gets it back to Erlin. Nice.
He sizes the defender up. He squares the defender up, but that hard plant foot with the right gets Kakemo to go one way, and he doesn't have the footing to match hips.
A loose ball hold against Syracuse, so Callahan has done a nice job at least mucking it up a little bit when he's been in there against Kohn and Mullen.
That's a great point.
Not pulled a veteran move on him.
But what that fake did, Anish, he got the entire defense to shift upfield, so once he got underneath, there was no support.
Callahan went early. Now really made a name for himself in that Carolina game where he had a couple of goals. He's got 2 today. We're tied at 8. Hopkins has responded after a 5-1 Syracuse run, 3 straight. A couple of years ago, this guy was playing on Memorial Day in the cage for Cornell. And if you go back to that 2022 season, it was actually a game against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. He struggled early.
Yep.
Connor Busick pulled him, was pulled again the following week. He was a big question mark. Turned it on in the second half of a game against Princeton late that year. It was a high-scoring game, and then he was sensational in the first 3 rounds of the NCAA tournament, better than 60%.
So battle-tested. I had to get used to him in these shorts, though. You remember those big, baggy sweats? He's so relaxed when he's on that right wing, and he dips his stick low, and in one motion, he stings it high on Erlin. You almost think he's a passer from that wing, just by his body language. The ball's spinning around, and then all of a sudden, bam.
What's the big...
Dramatically. The amount of players from coast to coast that are on college rosters. The parity in the level between teams. When we were talking about the top 10 earlier, there's 8 teams that could win a national title this year. Back in the day, there was, what, 2 to 3 maybe? Legitimate?
There was that run about 20 years.
Talk about the lacrosse IQ of a Joey Spallina. Understanding time and shot clock.
Here comes Dunn. Final seconds, wing shot, save, will mark.
To not allow yourself to go east-west, to stay north-south as much as you can to keep that angle, and that's what Sammy English did.
Another face-off to Kohn. You think about what guys like Brian Tevlin and Chris Fake meant to Notre Dame last
year. Of this unit in terms of their full field ability to hit.
Big face-off won by Callahan. That last Hopkins goal put an end to a 4-0 Syracuse run. We said it earlier, he ties Reardon and Brown for most consecutive games with a goal at Johns Hopkins. Here comes Stevens, right off the face-off win. The answer for the Orange.
They didn't have Jake Stevens available against Army. They suffered on the wing. Tonight they have him. They flourish. This is what a midfielder looks like. Someone who could scrap on defense, who could score in tight, who could gobble up a ground ball and make it count.
This game came out of a slumber in the second half, didn't it? 4-3 at halftime. Great ground ball play. Kilrain, the freshman, inside the Bauer, the long pole leading the break. We're trading haymakers now.
You got a veteran in Stevens. You got a young buck in Kilrain, who has incredible upside and versatility. You can play him low as a lockdown close defender, put him on a wing, and let him deal. What a pass by Kilrain. Vacuums it up, his head's up. So alert to understand that the eyes of the Syracuse defense are on him. Dylan Bauer camps out and makes it count.
What do we have? 4 goals now in less than a minute between these two teams. Callahan and Mullen tied up. We're going to get a flag.
Procedure.
Holding.
Yep.
It's going to be on Johns Hopkins. They'll get Callahan. Now, face-offs have been the one problem area for Hopkins today.
Saying he's holding that right there on the violation. He's going to do 30.
How to teach offensive philosophy and principles. The heads up, and when they're on extra man, the ball flies.
And with the game now starting to pick up in terms of scoring, Hopkins is going to have to find a way, even if they can't win a face-off, to neutralize Syracuse and get the ball back. In the first half, cause turnovers, those well-timed slides. Finish here at the Crown Lacrosse Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina. A city that continues to grow in its embrace of lacrosse. Angeles, big face-off win, 30 face-offs today. Kohn wins another one. Now trying to play keep away. Gary Gates saw Kohn was in trouble before he got rid of the ball. He uses one of his 2 timeouts. 2:22 to go, 4th quarter. There's always something special about this rivalry.